I was diagnosed with late-stage colon cancer 13 years ago, and it was a shock to me. By professional background, I'm a headhunter, a corporate headhunter, and that means that I'm a professional networker. And I tell you this because really no one from my professional network showed up to tell me that they knew anything about colorectal cancer. What that led to for me was an experience of being totally alone. Alone from the standpoint of knowing other survivors, other patients, anybody in the world who might have experienced what I was now experiencing and actually had been experiencing for a couple of years, going through the misdiagnosis process, which was very, very painful. In any case, no one showed up for me, and I had no one to express these fears and ask the questions of. I got through the treatment, which was barbaric according to today's standards. I'm here today, 13 years later, and I have been what we call dancing with Ned ever since. Ned means no evidence of disease. I'm one of the very, very lucky ones. I literally should not be here, and I know that because most people diagnosed at my stage progress and die. I didn't want to die. I did all the treatment that I needed to take. It was tough. And as I finished up with treatment, wondering how to get back into that old world that I had been a participant in, I realized that I really didn't want to be part of that world that much anymore. And what I wanted to do, very honestly, was to find other people for me to talk to, not only me to talk to, but other people. I knew that there were thousands of people out there that were having the same experience that I was having, and I wanted to bring them together so that they could support each other as they go through the process, the pre, the during, and after process. So I had a really good idea about 5 years ago. I mean, I had the idea that I was going to do something to meet this need, but I didn't know what it was. And about 5 years ago, I went and talked to my designer friend, Sarah, and said, I've got to start something. It's going to be for patients, caregivers, and survivors, and it's got to have the absolutely best name. And she and I traded back and forth with some ideas for names. She didn't particularly like my name that I came up with and made it clear. And then she sat very quietly and she said, how about COLONTOWN? And I said, oh my God, that's it. That's exactly what I want. So thereupon, COLONTOWN was born. And COLONTOWN started out as just a name. Then I started taking it to some other people that I knew were interested in helping support what I wanted to do, which is supporting all the community. And someone very astute suggested that I just put it on Facebook. And my answer to that suggestion was, what in the world am I going to do on Facebook with this? And the answer that came back to me was, I don't know, but you'll figure it out. So on March 6th, 2011, March is our Advocacy Month. This is pretty important that it happened that day. A fellow that I know from Denver invited me into a secret group on Facebook. And I didn't want to join his group. In fact, I wanted nothing to do with him at all. But I thought, oh boy, is this ever a gift? This is what I'm going to do with COLONTOWN. So I started a group that Sunday morning, March 6th, and added a few people that I knew from our community I felt wouldn't object that I just added them. And it didn't amount to any more than 18 people, plus me. Then I went swimming, which I do. And I came back from swimming, and I found there were about 78 people in the group already, because all of those people in that original group had added their friends. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, I really have something here. And now it's up to me to continue to nurture, to start to nurture this thing, this little gem, this little diamond that I had in the rough, to figure out how to peel back all the rock around the diamond and really evolve this diamond that has become COLONTOWN today. in some of your prior segments, you have been interviewing numerous of our patients that are civilians, citizens of COLONTOWN, proud ones. And they have been up on the stage talking about being, how much COLONTOWN means to them. And in fact, they call themselves COLONTOWnies. So we have a fun time with names here. What evolved here was I started with one group, one secret group. Secret was important because of the myths that surround and the stigma that surrounds colorectal cancer. This is something that they wanted. So I maintained the secret status of the group, and I increasingly made it mandatory that people chat with me as they come into the group so that I could find out what their situation was. I want to point out to you that colorectal cancer is the same cancer, but in the two locations, the rectum or the colon, make the treatment different, and therefore the experience different. So very quickly, I added another group. I added a group and it's a secret group called Rectalberg, and incorporated, now this is obviously for rectal cancer patients, so that they could come together in that focused conversation around their experience with rectal cancer. Rectal cancer oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes leads to one having to have an ostomy or an ileostomy. And so I created Stoma City, another secret group, where the people with ostomies can go and have their conversations and share their information about the best suppliers for ostomy supplies and all of that stuff. I don't happen to have an ostomy, but I am very, very acutely aware of how important it is for those people that do to have that conversation. Shortly thereafter, we're here at a hereditary cancer, colorectal cancer symposium. There are two major designations for hereditary cancer within our CRC world. One is Lynch syndrome, and the other is FAP. FAP is a very difficult. People with FAP are born without the gene that precludes the polyps from forming. And so therefore, people with the FAP syndrome really are liable to have thousands of polyps, not only in their colons, but in all of their organs. And we've had some survivors of FAP here, one an 11-year-old at this symposium. Very happy to find other people who understand what her situation is. So we have FAP family as one of the groups in COLONTOWN, and we have Lynchville for Lynch syndrome. People with Lynch syndrome, born with Lynch syndrome, have an 80% chance of developing colorectal cancer, which is a fact that a lot of doctors don't even know. Well, they know generally, but they're not as alert to it as they should be. So in Lynchville, they're talking about how often are they surveilled? How are you feeling? Where do you go to find the docs who really understand Lynch? That sort of thing. We have a women's club, COLONTOWN Women's Club, called CWC. And then we have the poker group for men, because my attorney said, you have to have a group for me where I can talk. And so they have called that the poker club. Let's see, what else? We have Hipec Heights. We have, and Hipec is a treatment that is very, very grueling for people with peritoneal metastases, generally coming from the colorectal disease state. I don't know if you know what the peritoneum is, but it's part of the sac that surrounds our digestive or our colon, I think. And I'm not a doc, so excuse me for getting into this a little bit. I do know that what can result is small metastases go into the peritoneal sac, lodge in the sac and therefore the spread of the disease to the sac. So it's a treatment that's very, very grueling. So those people have their own special needs and their own special conversation. Each one of our groups, and there are 21 all told, has their own special conversation about their special situation. And they connect up with other people, and they do private messaging, they meet in person. This is not only, regional, it's global because it's online. So we have people from Australia, we have people from South Africa, we have people from the UK, crossing date lines and time zones to talk to one another. This is 24/7. There's a conversation going on in 21 groups. And actually, there are more groups than just the 21 that are represented on that map.